Why is it that throughout history, the most foolish, the least prepared, the least virtuous often sit upon the throne of power? Today, we shall unmask this riddle, for it is not merely a question of politics, but a matter of survival. For nations fall not by enemies alone, but by the ignorance of those they themselves crown. And in this exploration, you will see why the crown often rests on the heads of jesters rather than sages. The stage of history is littered with ruins, and upon these ruins stands a single truth: the people, in their vast numbers, have never crowned wisdom as their king. They do not bend their knee to the thinker, nor do they hand their banners to the philosopher. No, what they demand is simplicity, wrapped in the garments of certainty. They crave the sound of a voice that tells them, without hesitation, what is right, what is wrong, what is theirs, and who has stolen it. The wise man, by nature, offers complexity. He tells the crowd that the world is a maze of contradictions, that justice and order require patience, that the future demands sacrifice today. But the multitude has no appetite for such food. Their hunger is for something sweeter, something easier to swallow. The fool comes forward smiling with a clarity that is false, yet comforting. He does not trouble the crowd with nuance. He does not burden them with doubt. Instead, he gives them promises, as simple as bread and as intoxicating as wine. And the people cheer, for simplicity is the language they understand best. Imagine a marketplace. One seller speaks of balanced measures, hidden costs, long-term planning. The other cries out a single word, free, and the mob rushes to his stall. This is politics in its most natural form. The wise man brings depth. The crowd is deaf to depth. The fool brings certainty, and certainty thunders louder than truth. Throughout time, this pattern repeats. Consider the great assemblies of the Roman Republic. Cicero spoke with the elegance of reason, but it was the blustering demagogues who stirred the mob to frenzy. They shouted of enemies, of conspiracies, of betrayal, and the mob, hungry for action, not reflection, followed. Rome fell not because it lacked wisdom, because wisdom was drowned in the noise of simplicity, and so it is with every people. The majority does not ask, is this man wise? They ask instead, does this man speak to my heart, to my anger, to my hope? And here lies the fatal advantage of the fool. For the fool is not burdened by the chains of truth. He may promise paradise tomorrow without explaining the labor of today. He may declare enemies without evidence, heroes without merit, victories without battles. The crowd does not test him, for they do not wish to test him. They wish only to believe. The wise man's curse is hesitation. He knows the complexity of the world. He understands the weight of each word, and so he speaks carefully, cautiously, always fearing that one misstep will bring ruin. The fool knows nothing of this restraint. He speaks boldly without thought, and because he speaks boldly, he appears confident. And confidence, to the unthinking crowd, is indistinguishable from competence. This is why in every square, in every election, in every revolution, the voice that rises loudest is not the voice of the sage, but the voice of the charlatan. For the sage says, let us examine, let us measure, let us wait, and the people groan, for waiting is agony. The charlatan says, the answer is simple, the solution is near, the blame is theirs, the victory is ours. And the people roar with approval, for simplicity is victory to them, even when it leads to ruin. Watch carefully how the fool thrives. He repeats himself endlessly, for repetition is the drumbeat of persuasion. He reduces every question to two choices: us or them, friend or enemy, victory or defeat. The people, wearied by the burden of thought, welcome this reduction. To choose between two colors is easier than to navigate a spectrum. To believe in one villain is easier than to understand 100 causes. Thus the fool becomes the champion of the people, while the wise man is dismissed as a dreamer, or worse, as a traitor who dares complicate what should be simple. And yet the tragedy deepens, for once the fool has gained their trust, the people themselves defend him with fury. They protect his lies as if they were sacred truths, for in his lies they find comfort. To expose his folly is to expose their own, and so they cling to him ever tighter. The more he deceives, the more they adore him. The more he simplifies, the more they exalt him. The cycle is endless, for the people prefer a simple falsehood to a difficult truth. This is the essence of power's corruption. Wisdom rarely conquers hearts, but simplicity conquers nations. And when the fool speaks with the thunder of certainty, the people mistake that thunder for the voice of destiny. Genius alone has never ruled the world. History is littered with the bones of great thinkers, great visionaries, men of brilliance who saw further than their age, and yet died powerless, forgotten, or at the mercy of lesser men. For genius without cunning is like a sword without a hand to wield it, sharp but useless. Power is not taken by the wise, but by those who know how to manipulate appearances, to bend perception, to turn weakness into theater and theater into triumph. The man of genius sees truth. He sees the path forward, the intricacies of governance, the subtle designs that could elevate society. But he is burdened with honesty. His words are careful, his reasoning layered, his vision vast, and so he speaks in a way that only the few can truly understand. But the few do not determine power. Power rests in the hands of the many. And the many are not moved by complexity. They are moved by the spectacle of confidence, the cunning smile, the ruthless attack on an enemy, real or imagined. The cunning man, unlike the genius, does not need truth. He requires only perception. He studies not the nature of the world, the weaknesses of those who live in it. He learns which fears keep them awake at night, which hopes make them dream, which hatreds lie dormant in their hearts. And with this knowledge, he bends the masses to his will. The genius builds ideas. The cunning builds illusions. And illusions move armies faster than ideas ever will. Consider how often in history cunning has defeated brilliance. Socrates questioned, reasoned, revealed the limits of human ignorance. Yet he was condemned by the cunning men of Athens, who stirred the mob against him. Leonardo da Vinci filled notebooks with visions centuries ahead of his time, yet he served at the mercy of dukes and princes, whose only genius was deceit. Genius is revered after death, but cunning rules in life. Why is this so? Because genius often isolates, while cunning connects. The man of genius may think beyond the crowd. The man of cunning knows how to walk among them, how to flatter their vanity, how to twist their desires into weapons. Genius desires to reveal truth. Cunning desires to control it. And when the two collide, the crown almost always falls to the latter. The cunning man masters appearances. He does not need to be strong. He must only appear strong. He does not need to be virtuous. He must only accuse his enemies of vice. He does not need to offer real solutions. He must only convince the people that he alone can provide them. Where the genius offers proof, the cunning offers performance, and performance is what the crowd pays to see. Think of Caesar. His genius as a strategist was undeniable, but it was his cunning as a politician that carried him from general to dictator. He paraded victories, showered soldiers with rewards, staged feasts for the people, all while quietly dismantling the republic's foundations. His brilliance would have been nothing without his cunning. Or think of Napoleon. A master of deception, he manipulated his defeats into stories of heroic struggle, turning losses into propaganda. His genius made him feared, but his cunning made him worshipped. And yet the cruel irony is this cunning requires far less than genius. To be a genius, one must study, reflect, endure solitude, wrestle with truth. To be cunning, one needs only to understand human weakness, and there are countless weaknesses to exploit. Fear, envy, anger, pride, they are the tools of the cunning. With a few words, with a few gestures, a cunning man can command more loyalty than a philosopher could earn in a lifetime. This is why, time and again, the throne attracts the cunning more than the wise. The genius seeks to design a system, to refine laws, to pursue justice. The cunning man seeks only to take the system, to corrupt the laws, to weaponize justice for himself. And he succeeds because the people are blind to the difference. They do not see wisdom, they see only victory. They do not admire depth, they admire boldness. And boldness is the native tongue of cunning. The man of genius asks, what is true? The cunning man asks, what will they believe? The genius demands patience, the cunning demands obedience. The genius may be remembered in books, the cunning man writes the laws that govern the living. And so the balance of history tilts again and again. It is not intelligence that wins crowns. It is not knowledge that secures power. It is cunning, the art of deception, the mastery of illusion, the ability to twist reality into whatever shape the moment demands. Genius may open the door, but cunning walks through it and locks it from the inside. There is no force in politics more dangerous, more enduring, more irresistible than illusion. Men will bleed for illusions, kill for illusions, even die for illusions. They will defend them more fiercely than truth, because truth is often cruel, demanding, and bitter, while illusion is warm, comforting, and sweet. A wise man may labor to reveal reality, but the masses do not desire reality. They desire the dream. And those who learn to craft such dreams, those who master the strength of illusion, are the ones who ascend to power. Illusion has always ruled more firmly than reality. The great conquerors of history understood this well. They paraded before their people not the chaos of their campaigns, not the blood and disorder of war, but the symbols of glory. Caesar returned to Rome with spoils and prisoners in chains, not to tell the truth of the thousands who starved in battlefields, but to stage a triumph, a performance so dazzling the crowd would forget the cost. He fed them illusion, and illusion was enough to buy loyalty. The genius who speaks plainly, who reveals harsh truths, is often cast aside. Tell the people their taxes are necessary, their sacrifices unavoidable, their struggles long. and they will despise you. Tell them salvation is close, prosperity awaits tomorrow, that enemies are weak and victory assured, and they will adore you. Illusion is stronger than reason, because reason demands effort, while illusion offers ease. Watch how illusion works. A fool in power does not need to solve hunger. He needs only to promise bread. He does not need to create wealth. He needs only to show himself in wealth, draped in gold, while the masses believe his fortune will soon be theirs. He does not need to be brave. He need only speak bravely, strike his chest, declare that he fears nothing, and the crowd will mistake performance for courage. Illusion transforms words into weapons sharper than steel. The strength of illusion lies in its repetition. A lie told once may be doubted, but a lie told 100 times becomes a banner. The crowd will carry it, shout it, defend it, even when it destroys them. They will argue not because they know it is true, because they need it to be true. And the cunning ruler, the foolish man who understands appearances better than reality, knows this. People will protect an illusion more fiercely than a truth, because the truth can disappoint, while illusion is endlessly malleable. Consider the stage of politics as a theater. People sit in darkness. They do not see backstage where the machinery creaks and the actors stumble. They see only the spotlight. The ruler, like an actor, performs. His gestures are exaggerated, his words rehearsed, his image carefully painted. The crowd applauds not reality, but performance. And performance becomes power. Even religion and ideology, the most enduring forces in history, are built not upon fact but upon the strength of illusion. Men believe in paradise beyond the grave, in golden ages lost and golden ages to come, in chosen nations destined by fate. These illusions drive them harder than hunger, bind them tighter than law, and sustain them longer than bread. A ruler who offers truth starves their imagination. A ruler who offers illusion feeds their very soul. What is most dangerous is that illusion does not merely trick the people, it transforms them. Once a people fall in love with an illusion, they will warp reality itself to preserve it. They will ignore evidence, dismiss reason, twist history, and silence dissenters. They will exile the wise man who warns them, crucify the prophet who dares to break their dream. Illusion gives them not only a leader to follow, but an identity to defend. And when identity is at stake, reason has no place. Think of Napoleon once again. His armies followed him across frozen wastelands, starving, half dead, yet still believing in the illusion of his destiny, his inevitability. Think of Hitler, whose illusions of empire seduced a whole nation into madness. Think of every tyrant who stood upon a balcony and promised greatness, while hiding ruin behind his back. They ruled not with wisdom, but with illusion. And illusion proves stronger than wisdom every time. For what is power if not the ability to convince others to see what does not exist? To make them fear an enemy that is weak, to make them trust a leader who is unworthy, to make them hope for a paradise that will never arrive. Illusion is not simply a tool of the fool in power. It is his entire foundation. Strip away the illusion and his throne crumbles. But so long as the people defend it, he remains untouchable. History does not move forward in a straight line, it moves in circles. The rise and fall of rulers, the coronation of fools and the silence of sages repeat with such precision it is as if mankind is trapped in a play whose script was written long ago. The actors change, the costumes differ, the performance remains the same. This is the cycle of power, the eternal rotation that places crowns on the heads of those least prepared to wear them, while the wise remain exiled from the throne. The pattern begins with collapse. A nation suffers, the people grow restless, the wise whisper of patience and reform. Their words are drowned by hunger and anger. In their desperation, the people turn to the loudest voice, the simplest promise, the clearest enemy. They do not ask for truth, they demand certainty. And thus a fool ascends, lifted by the hands of those who would rather believe than think. At first, the fool rules with confidence. He knows little, but pretends much. He surrounds himself with the symbols of power, with the applause of the crowd, with the illusion of destiny. And for a time, it seems enough. The people cheer, the banners wave, the illusion holds. But illusions are fragile things. They must be constantly fed, constantly defended, for the weight of reality presses heavily against them. Soon the cracks appear. Promises fail, enemies multiply, wealth evaporates. The fool, incapable of wisdom, turns instead to blame. He blames foreigners, he blames traitors, he blames fate itself. The people, unwilling to face their own folly, accept these excuses. They protect the fool because to condemn him is to condemn themselves. And so the cycle continues. Not upward, not forward, but downward, ever downward, till the weight of ruin can no longer be hidden. Then comes the collapse. The crowd that once adored him now curses his name. His allies abandon him, his illusions fall apart, his throne crumbles beneath him. Some fools flee into exile, some are executed, some cling desperately to power until the mob drags them into the streets. And in the chaos that follows, the people cry out for wisdom at last. They beg for reason, for order, for stability. They elevate the thinker, the reformer, the man who sees reality clearly. For a moment, truth has its season, but this season never lasts. Wisdom demands sacrifice, patience, discipline, qualities that people admire only in times of desperation. Once stability is restored, once the fires are extinguished and hunger satisfied, they grow restless again. They no longer want the sober voice of wisdom. They desire spectacle, promises, entertainment. They look once more for certainty, for boldness, for the comforting illusions they once swore they would never follow again. And so another fool rises, and the circle turns again. This is why history repeats itself with such cruelty. The people forget their suffering as quickly as they forget their lessons. They curse the last fool even as they crown the next. They mock the illusions that betrayed them, only to kneel before new illusions dressed in brighter colors. And those who watch with clarity see the cycle turning endlessly, like a wheel grinding the bones of nations beneath it. Think of Rome. From republic to empire, from Caesar to Nero, from strength to decadence. The people turned to emperors for stability, adored them as gods, despised them as tyrants, killed them, then repeated the cycle again and again until the empire rotted from within. Think of France, from monarchy to revolution, from emperor to restoration, from republic to empire once more. Each turn of the wheel brought new faces, but the same pattern: hope, illusion, collapse. Even in modern times, nations fall into the same rhythm, trading one fool for another, one illusion for the next, always believing this time will be different, always wrong. The cycle of power is sustained not only by rulers, but by the people themselves. They do not merely allow it, they create it. They demand the illusions, they elevate the fools, they silence the wise. And when the collapse comes, they weep as if they had no part in it. But the wheel does not turn by itself. It is the crowd that pushes it forward, even as it crushes them beneath. The wise know this cycle well. They speak against it, they warn of it. But their voices are small against the roar of the mob, and so they step aside, or they are cast aside, until the day comes when ruin makes the people desperate enough to listen. But by then it is always too late. The damage has been done, the fool has had his season, and the nation pays the price. The cycle turns, the faces change, the illusions shift, but the law remains unbroken. Wisdom is temporary, folly is eternal, and power, in its cruelest truth, is drawn again and again to those least capable of bearing it, as if history itself delights in repeating the same tragedy upon the stage of mankind. And so we see the cruel design of power laid bare. The people, wary of thought, prefer simplicity to wisdom. The bold trickster, armed with cunning, triumphs over the quiet genius. Illusion, painted brighter than reality, conquers their hearts and chains their reason. And the cycle turns endlessly, crowning fool after fool, while nations bleed and history repeats itself with merciless precision. To understand this is to strip away the comfort of belief, to see politics not as a stage for heroes, but as a theater of masks. Power is not the reward of the wise, but the prize of those who dare to seize it with spectacle, deceit, and unrelenting confidence. And unless mankind learns to love truth more than illusion, unless the crowd desires wisdom more than comfort, the throne will always belong to the foolish, and the wise will remain the audience, watching the same tragedy performed again and again.